Alright, let's get into it, because this one is straight out of the Browns' playbook of pain. Fans are already used to chaos in Cleveland, but this latest development? It feels less like football strategy and more like the setup for another chapter in a tragic sports soap opera. The Browns, who have been haunted by quarterback curses for decades, are apparently ready to throw Shedeur Sanders aside, all to chase Arch Manning. Yes, that Manning. The one who just got lit up against Ohio State and left half the stadium wondering if he even belonged on the field.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
And the reaction? Shock, outrage, disbelief. Browns fans are walking around like they've been hit with a frying pan. Because the rumor mill says that Jimmy Haslam and GM Andrew Berry were spotted at the Ohio State versus Texas game, not to scout the Buckeyes' NFL-ready talent, but to lock eyes on Arch Manning. The implication? Cleveland might be willing to tank an entire season just to line themselves up for Manning in the draft. Let's pause here. Tanking. As in, willingly burning another year of football to chase a name that's already carrying more hype than substance. And worse, doing it at the expense of Shedeur Sanders, a guy who's proven he can stand in the fire, handle pressure, and still keep composure. If you're a Browns fan, this feels less like a strategy and more like betrayal. But of course, it's not that simple. Arch Manning is football royalty. The Manning bloodline is like the NFL's version of the royal family, grandfather Archie, uncles Peyton and Eli. Two Hall of Fame legacies, Super Bowl rings, commercials that air more often than toothpaste ads. The Manning name carries weight. It carries expectations. And it carries the illusion that talent runs in the blood. That's why teams drool at the chance to draft someone like Arch. It's not just about what he's done. It's about what people think he can become. The problem? What he's done lately isn't great. That game against Ohio State? Brutal. He looked rattled, indecisive, like a kid who wandered into the deep end before learning to swim. Missed throws, poor decisions, and body language that screamed, "I'm not ready." And this wasn't some random preseason scrimmage. This was a marquee game, the kind of stage where NFL scouts are watching closely. And if we're being honest, Arch didn't just underperform. He looked lost. Compare that to Shedeur Sanders. At Colorado, Sanders has been the definition of poise under pressure. He's dealt with insane media attention thanks to his dad, Deion Sanders. He's played behind shaky offensive lines against powerhouse defenses in games where the odds were stacked sky-high. And yet, he kept his composure, made smart plays, and earned respect not with his last name, but with his grit. That's what NFL teams claim they want. Quarterbacks who can handle chaos. Sanders has lived in chaos. So why would the Browns even think about swapping Shedeur's proven resilience for Arch's shaky potential? Because it's Cleveland. And Cleveland has a history of chasing ghosts at quarterback. The franchise has spent decades obsessed with the next great one. From Johnny Manziel to Brady Quinn to Baker Mayfield, the Browns have a laundry list of quarterbacks who were supposed to save a team and ended up sinking with the ship. It's like they can't resist the allure of hype, even when it burns them every time. And make no mistake, Arch Manning is the biggest hype machine in college football right now. He's a brand before he's a player. Drafting him isn't just about touchdowns. It's about jerseys, sponsorships, national coverage, and the prestige of having a Manning under center. Jimmy Haslam, a businessman before he's ever been a football mind, sees dollar signs. Arch doesn't just bring potential wins. He brings marketability. But here's where fans lose their minds. Marketability doesn't win football games. Proven talent does. And Shedeur Sanders, for all the noise around him, has shown more NFL traits than Arch has. Leadership, composure, performance under pressure. Those things don't show up on a highlight reel, but they matter when you're down by 4 with 2 minutes left. And the Browns, of all teams, should know this. Their history is littered with bad decisions made for the wrong reasons. Draft busts, coaching changes, ownership meddling. Every time the Browns look like they're on the verge of stability, they find a way to trip over their own feet. And right now, this Arch Manning obsession looks like history repeating itself in the worst possible way. Let's talk about the fans, though. Because Cleveland fans aren't just upset, they're furious. Imagine sitting through decades of heartbreak, finally seeing a young quarterback like Sanders with the poise to handle pressure, and then hearing that ownership might tank for someone who just got embarrassed on national TV. It's insulting. It's like telling a fan base, we value hype more than winning. Sports radio is lighting up. Comment sections are flooded. Fans are calling this the dumbest move in franchise history, and that's a bold claim, considering this franchise has an encyclopedia of dumb moves. People are asking, how many times do we have to watch this team bet on the wrong quarterback before they learn? And analysts are piling on too. Sure, some will defend the Manning hype, saying, you can't teach pedigree. But others are hammering the Browns, pointing out the obvious. This isn't about football. It's about chasing names. And the Browns have been down that road before. Spoiler alert, it doesn't end well. Now, let's look at the psychology of this whole thing. NFL teams get blinded by potential. They see height, arm strength, and famous bloodlines, and they convince themselves they can coach the flaws out. They ignore the guys who've already proven themselves because chasing the what if feels sexier. That's how busts happen. That's how careers get derailed. That's how teams like the Browns stay trapped in mediocrity. And let's not forget the human side. What does this say to Shedeur Sanders? A player who's done nothing but show professionalism, resilience, and growth, and yet still isn't enough for a franchise obsessed with chasing the shiny new toy. If you're Sanders, you can't help but feel slighted. And if you're his teammates, you're wondering what the priorities of this team even are. Are we here to win games, or are we here to chase headlines? This decision, if it's real, doesn't just impact one draft pick. It impacts the entire culture of the Browns. Teams that prioritize hype over merit set themselves up for locker room dysfunction. Players lose faith. Coaches lose authority. And the fan base, already battered and cynical, finally checks out. Because you can only sell hope for so long before people realize it's just another con. Let's hand out a fake award here. The Sisyphus Trophy for the team most committed to rolling the same boulder up the same hill only to let it crush them again. And the winner, of course, is the Cleveland Browns, for apparently deciding that the lessons of history are more of a suggestion than a warning. And yet maybe this story has a twist ending, because football has a funny way of humbling hype. If the Browns do chase Arch Manning, and if Sanders goes to another team, what happens when Sanders thrives and Manning struggles? What happens when the safe bet on bloodlines backfires, and the overlooked talent proves everyone wrong? That's the poetic justice lurking in the background. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a Brown story. It's a story about the NFL's obsession with narratives, pedigree, names, flash. It's about how the league keeps repeating the same mistakes, blinded by hype while ignoring the evidence right in front of them. And it's about how players like Shedeur Sanders, players who earn it the hard way, get overlooked until it's too late. So what's the moral here? Simple. Pedigree doesn't win games. Proven performance does. And if the Browns can't figure that out, then the curse of Cleveland quarterbacks will roll on for another decade. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Arch Manning will rise from the ashes of that Ohio State game, silence the critics, and prove he's worthy of the hype. Maybe the Browns, for once, will stumble into the right decision. But if history is any indicator, don't bet your house on it. So what do you think? Are the Browns really about to repeat history with another quarterback blunder? Or is Arch Manning the future they've been waiting for? Drop your thoughts, because honestly, this might be the most Cleveland storyline of all time. And if you're here for more chaos, meltdowns, and unbelievable sports drama, make sure to subscribe. Because this saga is far from over. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just football. This is Cleveland. And Cleveland never misses a chance to break your heart. Oh, you thought the Browns' quarterback curse had peaked? Think again. Because this Arch Manning twist is only the beginning of the drama. If the rumors are true, if Cleveland is seriously eyeing Manning as their golden ticket while tossing Shedeur Sanders aside, then we're not just talking about another bad front office move. We're talking about a Shakespearean-level tragedy playing out in real time. Let's start with the fans, Because, honestly, they're the heart of this meltdown. Cleveland fans are some of the most loyal, long-suffering, and passionate people in sports. They've stuck through decades of quarterback failures, coaching changes, and heartbreak that would have made any other city give up by now. But even the most loyal fan base has a breaking point. And this could be it. Imagine sitting in the stands, watching Sanders develop, grinding it out, proving himself under pressure, only to hear whispers that ownership is planning to ship him out or bury him just to chase another savior with a famous last name. That's not just frustrating, it's insulting. And that's why fans are melting down. Sports radio in Cleveland sounds like a therapy session gone wrong. Callers are fuming. Some are yelling about tanking. Others are screaming about favoritism. And a few are flat out swearing off the team. On social media, memes are flying. Sanders in a superhero cape on one side, Arch Manning photoshopped into a Nepotism Baby of the Year award on the other. It's chaos. Now let's zoom in on ownership. Jimmy Haslam, the man behind the curtain. Haslam's reputation as an owner is already shaky at best. Fans have accused him of meddling too much in football decisions, chasing headlines over substance, and treating the Browns like a vanity project rather than a franchise. And this Manning obsession? It fits the pattern perfectly. He sees the Manning name, imagines jersey sales skyrocketing, national media spotlight glowing, and thinks, that's the ticket. But what he doesn't see, or maybe refuses to see, is the wreckage that comes from putting brand over ball. And Andrew Berry, the GM? He's stuck in the middle. On one hand, he's supposed to be the brains of football operations. On the other, he's got an owner breathing down his neck with visions of dollar signs and commercials. If Berry pushes back, he risks his job. If he goes along, he risks his legacy as yet another Browns GM who fell into the trap of chasing hype. Either way, it's a lose-lose. Let's talk Arch Manning for a second. Because here's the truth. Arch didn't ask for this circus. He was born into it. Being a Manning means every move, every throw, every snap is scrutinized under a microscope. He's been treated like football royalty since high school. That pressure? It's crushing. And when he underperforms, like in that Ohio State game, it doesn't just look bad, it detonates across the football world. Suddenly, he's not just a young quarterback learning on the job. He's the Manning who failed. That's brutal. Now, it's fair to say Arch still has potential. He's got the frame, the mechanics, the pedigree. But potential doesn't win games today. It might win them tomorrow or 5 years from now. But right now, Shedeur Sanders looks far more NFL ready. He's got the poise, the leadership, and most importantly, the tape. That's what's driving fans insane. The Browns finally have a guy who checks all the boxes, and they're considering tossing him aside for someone who might never pan out. This is where the Browns' history becomes its own character in the story. Because this franchise is cursed. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean, it feels like some higher power is sitting in the sky, laughing, making sure every time Cleveland finds hope, it gets yanked away at the last second. Draft busts. Trades gone wrong. Coaching disasters. You'd think they'd learn by now. But no, history repeats itself, and once again, they're lining up to gamble their future on the shiny object instead of the proven grinder. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is probably the calmest person in the room. If you look at his track record, the guy doesn't flinch. He's dealt with haters, doubters, and constant media noise, thanks to his dad being one of the most famous figures in football. And yet, he's handled it all with composure. He doesn't lash out, doesn't get defensive. He just keeps showing up, proving people wrong with his play. If there's anyone who should be panicking, it's him. But instead, he's the one acting like a professional while everyone else spirals. That contrast is almost poetic. Let's play out some scenarios, because this could go a lot of different ways. Scenario 1. The Browns double down on Arch Manning, draft him, and sideline Shedeur. Best case, Manning lives up to his last name, blossoms into an elite quarterback, and the Browns finally find stability. But let's be honest, when's the last time the best case scenario actually happened in Cleveland? Exactly. Scenario 2, Manning struggles. Maybe he's not ready. Maybe the pressure is too much. Suddenly, Cleveland has another bust on their hands. The fan base revolts, and Shedeur thrives somewhere else, proving everyone wrong. Can you imagine the Browns watching Sanders win playoff games for another team while they sit at home? That's not just painful, it's humiliating. Scenario 3. The Browns hedge their bets, try to keep both. But quarterback controversies are like poison. Locker room split, players take sides, and chemistry goes out the window. Instead of building a team, you build drama. And drama doesn't win Lombardies. And that's the part nobody's saying out loud yet. This decision doesn't just affect the quarterback position. It affects the entire culture of the team. Players are watching closely. If management picks Manning over Sanders just because of pedigree, veterans will think, if they'll screw him over, they'll screw any of us over. That kills trust. That kills effort. That kills the team. The NFL as a whole is watching, too. Other teams are sitting back with popcorn, waiting to see if Cleveland implodes, because history says they probably will. And the league office? They'd probably prefer Arch Manning land somewhere stable, where his family legacy can shine. But Cleveland? That's not stability. That's chaos. Now, let's take a step back and talk big picture. This isn't just about one draft pick. This is about how the NFL evaluates talent. It's about the obsession with bloodlines, hype, and high ceilings instead of proven performance. The Manning name carries more weight than stats ever could, and that's dangerous. Because when you draft a name instead of a player, you're not building a football team, you're building a brand. And fans can smell that a mile away. And what's really wild? The Browns don't need to do this. They've already got a player in Sanders who embodies everything they claim to want. Toughness, resilience, leadership. He's not flashy for the sake of being flashy. He's grounded, focused, and ready to grind. But instead of leaning into that, they're chasing the mirage of a dynasty. Let's hand out another fake award here. The Mirror Mirror on the Wall Award, for the team most obsessed with reflections of greatness instead of reality. And of course, it goes to the Browns, because instead of seeing what's in front of them, they're staring into the mirror of the Manning legacy and convincing themselves it'll solve all their problems. Spoiler, it won't. So where does this leave us? Honestly, in the middle of a slow-motion car crash. The Browns are flirting with yet another quarterback disaster. The fans are furious. The players are side-eyeing management. And Shedeur Sanders is standing tall in the middle of it, probably shaking his head at the absurdity. And you, the viewer, are left wondering, when will Cleveland learn? When will they realize that hype doesn't win Super Bowls, that names don't throw touchdowns, and that pedigree doesn't guarantee greatness? When will they stop chasing ghosts and start trusting what's right in front of them? Because here's the kicker. If Sanders leaves and shines elsewhere, the Browns will never live it down. It'll be the ghost that haunts them for decades, another name added to the long list of what could have been. Picture this. You're a Browns fan sitting in First Energy Stadium, snow swirling in December, the dog pound howling. On the field, Arch Manning struggling through another ugly drive, missing open receivers, throwing balls into the dirt. On the sideline, Shedeur Sanders, helmet in hand, eyes locked on the chaos, knowing deep down he should be out there leading the team. And in the stands, you, watching the Browns repeat the same mistake you swore they'd never make again. It's not just bad football, it's déjà vu. Every throw feels like a flashback to another franchise savior who fizzled out. Manziel, Couch, Quinn. The names blur together, but the heartbreak never does. And here we are again. Except this time the pain feels even sharper because the Browns had a real option in Sanders, and they let him slip away for the siren song of a Manning legacy. The cruel irony? Manning didn't even ask for this weight. He's a kid trying to live up to a name that casts a shadow taller than any stadium. And in trying to cash in on that legacy, the Browns have set him up to fail. Sanders, meanwhile, is out there proving himself every week, maybe even with another team, dropping dimes, rallying teammates, silencing doubters. The contrast couldn't be clearer. One man is carrying hype, the other is carrying results. And the fans? They're done. Oh, they'll still fill the seats, still bark in the dog pound, still wear the colors. But their faith? That's gone. Because there's only so many times you can sell people hope before they realize it's just snake oil in orange and brown packaging. Let's hand out one last fake award. The Lifetime Achievement in Heartbreak. The winner? The Cleveland Browns, because no one, and I mean no one, can take a glimmer of hope and turn it into despair quite like this franchise. So what's the takeaway? Maybe it's that pedigree isn't destiny. Maybe it's that hype fades, but performance sticks. Or maybe it's just that the Browns are doomed to keep replaying the same mistakes until the end of time. Whatever the lesson, the message is loud and clear. When you choose names over numbers, bloodlines over grit, you're not building a contender. You're building a headline. And headlines don't win Lombardis.